The Yellow Brick Road. This video does not reflect the actual views of real people. These are actors playing a role to entertain audiences. No persons or animals were harmed in the making of this video. Gosh, I love YouTube and I love Google.
Yeah. Is the mic picking up your shoe moving? Yeah, our mic is extra moist. It's mad moist. It's mad sensitive, man. It's in its feelings.
Don't say that. I hate that new talk, man. It's in its feelings. What the fuck does that mean?
What are you, an old man on the front fucking lawn?
Dude, I'm not even 25. It's in its feelings.
It's mad soft.
That shit's soft as fuck.
That mic is sensitive as
that?
fuck.
It can be sensitive, doesn't it? Say in his feelings.
We gotta lubricate it with Vagisil.
No.
Loosen it up.
Yeah. No. What the hell? No. don't lubricate this snowball. What's going on?
Alright, what we're really here for is we're going to, I guess, review Ceccpoint News, their video on objective secular morality. And I believe they use our new favorite YouTuber, Stefan Molyneux's. Goddamn, I keep forgetting the name of it. Universal Preferable Behavior, or something like that. Something boxed in. Morality in a box. You can buy it for $19.99.
An injection of happiness, too.
Yes.
Pause.
So, before we start, do you think it's possible to have a objective, secular morality?
Define it.
Objective meaning it's there like a law. You can't really change it around or anything. It's obvious, it's blatant. And you have secular meaning socially. And you have morality. So a straight up, written on stone set of moral rules for society externally.
Oh.
Secular, yeah.
Seems a little unnecessary.
Is it possible?
Is it possible? I guess so.
How so?
It being like externally viewed?
Viewed and shared as in everyone follows these rules. Or it doesn't have to be everyone follows the rules, it's just that everyone understands that this is the right thing. There is no like gray area, it's just this is objective.
Well, sure, yeah.
I agree and disagree with the idea of objective secular morality.
Just I wouldn't have it. It's just, guys, we already know. So why do we have to say it's rules here? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just me though. It's like the whole bit, like, guys, the first law is don't steal. Number 2, don't kill. Number 3, like, I already know that, man. It's pretty simple and basic, you know.
Well, to do it on a see, it wouldn't be seen as like what you're saying with rules written down and things like that. It'd be an unspoken, objective, secular morality. It wouldn't.
I don't see the laws in front of me right now, but I understand them.
I don't even think it would be spoken about. It would be innately known, or not innately. I'd say internally known. As in, yeah, you can do work, so it's not purely naturally I understand these rules. You actually do some contemplation and thinking. So yeah, you can have it, but it wouldn't be so on the surface and written down in rule books, and yeah, probably wouldn't even be spoken about. It'd be understood on an internal level by everyone. Then you have the objective morality at work. Yeah. But I think they're defining it a little bit different. They're defining it as written rules.
Oh.
Or like written, like a written principles that this is what morality is. This is the moral spectrum or ladder or whatever.
Oh, man, I get it, but it's like something like that. I'm not saying that these guys, I feel like some people have feel the need to, it's not here in front of us. Let's make it visible.
Well, they want proof.
You are the proof,
Oh, they want proof, as in I can write this up in a theory or a theorem.
Oh. Yeah.
And it can be understood by everyone. Alright, so let's get into the video.
Yeah. So this is where Molyneux comes in, and this is where I think he really answers that question of, well, what is objective morality? And the first question is, it's like, well, how do you establish something as universal? So that's the test, right? Because it can't be, like you said, he said, well, I don't like the example that you gave was, well, what if someone said, I don't like your version of string theory? It's like, well, how string theory might work wouldn't change from which nation you're in. It wouldn't, string theory works exactly the same way in Oklahoma that it does in Iraq, right? It has a universality that connects a lot to the objectivity of it. And I think the really important thing to take note of here is that Stefan Molyneux says, okay, that's the first fundamental thing. So how do we prove this? Well, he wrote a book called Universally Preferable Behavior. It's a rational proof for secular ethics. So the way I look at secular ethics, even as a Christian, right, is I see that as the first layer. That even if you don't believe fundamentally in God, right, that there is this underlying way to rationally prove that at least you ought not to do certain things to other people.
I sort of get that. I don't know if it requires a belief in God. It might be something more like Peterson says, to where you're practicing something, you don't even realize it. You're sort of practicing a quasi-religion in a way, without grabbing the Bible and studying it.
Yeah.
You may have tendencies or personal rituals and things like that. Could they come up with it without religion or God or belief in something, and develop a moral whatever for people? It's like, I don't see that, because then it wouldn't really be a moral act. You need intention. You need something internal working, right? It can't just be purely on the surface. I read this, so I do this now. You need the actual intention with your actions.
I read this, so I have to shoot you. Get ready.
Right? There's someone saving a baby, then there's someone being told to save a baby.
Well, yeah. Well, it's like this, following the Ten Commandments. Like, why are you doing it? Because it tells you to, or because you think it's a great thing to do?
Yeah. What you probably want is both, right? For the people that are straggling behind and need some sort of principles down, something to contemplate.
I'd rather believe this is the right thing to do, rather than just kill. I'll follow it. But it's like, why?
No, you want both.
I don't know.
Well, for people that are straggling behind, you need something to contemplate, right? If you're raised around a bunch of murderers, but there's no content in the world saying, "Hey, man, you don't have to kill." It's like, oh, it gives them something to contemplate.
No.
Yeah.
Because they're universally preferable, and this is something that you can objectively prove. And so I think that's fundamentally different than religious morality, which is it includes some of that, and it embodies some of that, but then it adds on additional layers of what you ought to do, right? And I think so. I think both are extremely important, but it's good to have these secular ethics so that we can all have a cohesive message that we can all agree on, such as science, right?
Right.
And
Yeah, that's sort of where I was going. You were saying completely internal, as in you become the expression of morality rather than writing it down or whatever.
I'm not saying. I said it's not really necessary. You know? Like I have to write this down. Like no. Like you're the proof.
Yeah.
And then you can discuss it with people.
Yeah, and I was saying it's basically like an unspoken thing. I think would be the
That's
best.
if you wanted to.
Would be the actual objective morality. Right? It wouldn't be something so visible beyond the hush hush. Can I say that?
You know, you can say ditto, but is it really
But
past that time?
yeah, that unspoken objective morality would be shared. It just wouldn't be spoken about with other people. I mean, yeah, once you understand the objective morality, I don't think there's any gray areas either that need to be worked out and contemplated with each other. It would just be an unspoken thing because there's areas that we can't reach each other at. Like, if someone has a shitty thought about something, they're daydreaming about killing their boss every day. It's like, okay, let's look at that morally, right? Now other people can't reach that area. Other people can't get to that area and see that and, call them out for whatever.
You can't. I mean, they can't.
So the collective objective morality has to be from inward out, and it won't be, the out part won't be in words, it'll be in action.
so to go into a little bit what that really is, because he actually answers that question, which is important. He says, okay, so one example that he gave and what we recently watched, I mean, I read the entire book, Universally Preferable Behavior. It was great. It really went into detail, so we'll only be able to give a short synopsis here.
Here's the thing with a lot of theories that I hear, is that they have the presupposition of something, and then they can, once they have that, they can build mountains out of it and say, look at all the detail they have in their work. Mm-hmm. It's because the initial part that they start off with, right? If I say consciousness exists only because of the brain, that's my presupposition. Now I can write a bajillion different theories in sharp detail and build my mountain from there. So, and that's sort of what I'm thinking Stefan Molyneux did, which is, I believe, we derive truth from the senses, from the taste, smell, hearing, all that.
I'm not saying you can't use them.
And then, thus, once you start with that presupposition, now you can say science gives you truth, or gives you some, whatever, glance at the truth. I'm like, yeah. You'll be going forever and never and never.
Oh, delusional, state.
Well,
my island, I threw 105. Till the day I die.
Well, there's just so much shit in a whatever infinite universe or whatever, ever expanding universe. And you're just, whenever you solve one thing, it's like, nope, that's just a little piece of the overall truth. Now I got to keep going. Oh wait, I only live till I'm 80 years old. Someone else has to take over. Now they don't have my mindset, and I'm passing my whatever information data to the next person, And then on and on and on it goes. Forever and ever. And we're still faulty in replicating an inch, right? Like on a ruler, an inch.
I mean,
are they all exactly the same inch, or are they different?
I can get it.
There's an inch. Look at that.
What?
You just stand in the mirror and pull your pants down, right?
What are you talking about?
There's an inch right there.
What?
The universal inch.
What do you mean?
Really?
What? Wait, hold on.
Onward.
No. What? Say it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
An inch?
Talking about a dude pulling down his pants, then what?
What about you?
Me?
Yeah.
Why are we talking about me? In that area? You have some weird fascination with that? What's going on? I thought we were talking about this.
Well, you would think that the universal representation of an inch, there you go.
What? What?
It's not this, it's...
What, like a Frenchman? Like, what are you talking about? Like sip tea? What?
Forgive him, ladies and gentlemen. Onward.
You talking about people in the areas?
It's incredibly complicated. So this is a gross oversimplification.
It's probably us.
So I think one way that we can describe this, I say, okay. So let's take, for instance, stealing. How do you prove that theft fundamentally is wrong, right? So
good job not using a black guy. Who the fuck are these guys?
They should have just showed 50 Cent.
50 Cent from the video game.
You gotta have from the video game, or you have that guy talking about him like, man, how was his over there? That block right there. He used to beat people up. Look at him. He's like, I'm getting surgical with this bitch. Just
shouldn't throw stones if you live in a glass house.
'Cause I'll break your face.
Fundamentally is wrong, right? So complicated. So this is a gross oversimplification. So I think one way that we can describe this, I say, okay. So let's take, for instance, stealing. How do you prove that theft fundamentally is wrong, right? So all right. So when you
do you want to take a crack at that before
what?
Before their answer?
What?
Why is stealing wrong?
I'd rather hear them for I already know.
Say that something is wrong, right? You say X action is wrong. Necessarily, the opposite of X must be right, and vice versa. So you can't be like, well, they're both right because
stealing and not stealing.
No,
right.
Yeah, right. So
it can be right sometimes.
Right. And but then that wouldn't be any sort of moral rule because it's not consistent or objective. All right. So that would just be monkey brain preferences. So I think that what's important to look at here, you say, okay, so I am going to put up an ethical proposition that theft is okay, right? Okay. So you say that theft is okay. All right, well, so what does that entail? First of all, that entails that, or it implies that if you aren't stealing, then you are in the wrong. So every moment, excluding the moment when you are actually literally physically taking the item from someone and giving it to yourself, other than that, when you're sleeping, when you're doing anything else, you're always in the wrong. So you always have to be in a perpetual state of stealing, or else you are not stealing, which is the wrong thing to do, if stealing is the good thing that you ought to do. And so this is, again, the whole positive, like saying you ought to do things in the affirmative, that this is a problem, right? Because then whenever you're not doing it, you're in the wrong. And so obviously that makes it nearly impossible to be moral all the time, but that's also not the fundamental reason, right? Because if you say that I think it's universally preferable for someone to always be stealing from me and me to always be stealing, then you are saying yourself, right, that it's your personal preference that someone steals from you. You're giving permission. You're saying that.
All right, so what they're saying is, okay, let's flip the script on stealing and say that it's the moral thing to do. All right. And they're saying once you argue in the affirmative, let's change from theft so it's more understood. Let's say it's the moral thing to drink water. Stop taking my notes, man. Okay. Jeez. Prepared hard for this, man.
You wrote a script.
Anyways, let's say it's the morally correct thing to do, objectively, is to drink water. Right? If you argue for an affirmative like that, that means you'll have to constantly be drinking water. Otherwise, you're doing something immoral.
Yeah, okay.
So that's like the first little part. I changed the wording around. Now let's go back to the other part of that, the theft part. If you're saying that it's morally correct to steal from someone, then theft does not become theft, right? It's not really like stealing, because you're saying it's preferable to do that. Like, that's the right thing to do. So it's not really stealing. Thus, I don't know what it would be.
Well, it's against someone's
Giving
will.
away. Huh?
It's against their will.
Well, if you're saying theft is the moral thing to do, if you flip the script on that, then theft isn't actually theft.
Well, no, again.
It's not actually stealing.
It's like, oh, I don't want you to do it, but you're going to take it anyway.
Yeah, stealing is supposed to be like you're sneaking behind someone's back or
I thought they were
using
going to
force or something and taking
They
something
were going to
from
go
them.
more in the route of, I need to feed my kids, man. I got no job. Like, I don't know what to do here. And there's like a fruit stand, you know? Like, fuck.
No, they're just reiterating Stefan Molyneux's point.
No, I thought they were going to just bring it up anyway. As far as it being relative to the situation, but if that wasn't there in the first place, then
Well, they're sort of
would
not,
it feel necessary for that to be the right thing to do, you know?
I believe them and Molyneux are trying to knock it down to its absolute base foundation and just looking at it like that rather than adding on human complexities really to it.
Well, I'll only add that as far as for an explanation to explain how it's pretty simple.
Well, this amounts to like thought experiment as opposed to the on-the-job training, which is more of what you're talking about.
'Cause it's fun.
And they're both interesting. Oh, one I consider necessary and one I would consider like, this is interesting.
That's morally okay, right? And so then it ceases to be theft, right? Because then you're giving permission. And so it's fundamentally impossible for you to...
That has to be against your will.
Right, for you to
just declare that it's...
But to put forward a moral proposition that theft is morally okay, because then it fundamentally implies your willingness to have someone take that item from you. What? And so not only that, you can apply that to so many different situations. You can apply that to murder. You can apply that to rape. You can apply that to many things. And so fundamentally, universally preferable behavior, and this is another thing people don't understand, it doesn't mean that everyone specifically prefers that this be the moral system. There are a lot of people out there, a lot of bad people who don't follow these rules. And just because, right, let's say that you're like, well, I know one guy who doesn't prefer that they be kept alive. Well, then that's a voluntary transaction, is it not? If they're crazy and they prefer to not be alive and they think it's okay if you kill them, then is that no, that's just voluntary.
Fundamentally the same as assisted suicide.
Right. So, and there's a reason that, from just purely from a secular perspective, we don't see assisted suicide, or we don't, at least don't view it on the same moral plane that we view murder.
And they're arguing the same thing, but I just wanted to be like, I don't know if I'm going to put a picture of James Holmes up there. The Batman theater killer guy. Yeah. It's like, crazy. Fucking picture pops up.
I know.
I don't know.
In Europe, I'm pretty sure it's legal. There are places that do it.
Right. Yeah, so, I mean, it's fundamentally different, right? And you see, generally speaking, so we have some, on the outer layer, we have differences between cultures in terms of ethical rules, right? But that's all on the outer religious layer and not on the inner core layer. You notice there's a fundamental trend and pattern with every single culture around the world, and that is that there is a prohibition on murder, theft, and rape. Like, those are the fundamental things you can't do in pretty much any civilization. And that, at least on it.
Yeah, you can't do it to yourselves. Do it to others. You can bomb the Middle East all day, but they don't want you to kill each other here.
An interpersonal level. And so, right, so again, we could get into that another time, but fundamentally those are the ground rules of every society, right? And this is always reflected. So there is a certain universality.
It's legal in Canada. Physician-assisted suicide.
Right. So, but then the things that generally differ, right? Because when people talk about, well, there are all these different ethical systems, and I know this, this one country where you can do this, but the problem is those are all concerning the outer layer, the things that are additives, that are well,
or even more outrageous. They're on top of that. They're the law. They're not even the religious norms. So they're an extra of the extra.
Exactly. So
separated from true morality.
Yeah, the law is the furthest from morality.
In Sweden, the age of consent is 15. In some U.S. states, it's 16. In some, it's 18. In one place, is it right? In one place, it's wrong. Right?
And this is another thing that drives me crazy. A lot of people say, and this is the next rebuttal that usually comes forward. Again,
stop real fast. So I think you would agree with that. That law does not equal morality. Its intentions are morality, but in the way the world is now and the laws we have are not morality.
That'd be ridiculous, Jordan. Our governing bodies make the best laws that anybody could make. No. Even if, no, they don't. No.
Yeah.
Because
I don't think they ever will either. Yeah.
Oh, well, even if they did, it'd be at that point where it's like, is it even necessary to even do this?
Yeah,
and it wouldn't be. It would just be a, hey, there's a, oh, I didn't know I couldn't park this way over here.
Yeah, those are different.
Yeah, not. Are you kidding me, James? What happens when you place your trash over here? You can't do that. It's like, fuck, dude, my fault.
Yeah.
Versus, listen, I was drunk, but I shot her 18 times, and I stabbed her 4 times in the head. Okay, it was manslaughter. We'll go for that. Ready? It's like, no, they're not here, buddy. I'm not here. It doesn't work like that. There's no chess here.
So, yeah, things like road signs and shit like that. Yeah. Don't drive, 80 miles an hour here because there's a cliff on the other side.
Yeah, I believe I was.
There's a train coming. Slow down.
Partially, my vision was temporarily impaired by a non-seeing vision of water pitcher runs away. It's like
So yeah,
it's like a game, but it'd be pretty clear cut. It's like we're prepared for you. Don't worry. Over here.
Yeah, those are the simple things. That's where science should come in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like see the curvature of this road? You can't drive this fast here. You're gonna fall off the cliff.
Yeah.
All right.
Just UPB, and that's and I didn't come up with this. This was Stefan Molyneux. So the next thing that people tend to say is, okay, so what if you get into this situation where it's not, there are blurred lines, right? So on the peripheries of consent. On the peripheries of consent, so you say, well, let's say that you're not sure, like someone was on drugs and then they agreed to, I don't know, have half of their property stolen. And so there's sort of, they agreed to it in a state where they weren't really capable of making the decision, but then at the same time they're still responsible for it. And so they say, you see, there are exceptions in the peripheries where things aren't as clear. So that must disprove the rule, right? The rule that there is an objective morality because there exists a lack of clarity on the peripheries. And I think that's fundamentally not an argument because we don't use that argument in science, do we?
Exactly.
Do we? No, I don't think we do.
Anomalies of that.
Because exactly. There are always outliers, but that doesn't change the fundamental rule. I think there are plenty of examples of this. It's escaping me.
Perhaps for it to become a law is a little different. For it to become a very largely accepted, near a certain proven theory, outliers can exist. Things like evolution, especially even the additions to the old theory, there are still places where it doesn't 100% cover, where they don't have 100% of the answers. But things.
All right. Do you think there's like gray areas when it comes to moral decisions?
Only when for some people, only when the situation itself is, like I said.
I'm gonna throw a situation at you.
I already have one.
Yeah, good.
It's like, corrupt society. And unfortunately, there's people that are, being taken advantage of, and they're in a situation where they feel they have to do something that would basically be wrong, but in order to help others or survive, It's like, well, how could it be wrong? I need to survive. I need my kids to, my kids are starving. I have to steal from you, dude. Or I have to when you're not looking, I have to steal some bread and apples and fruit.
Yeah.
It's like, but if you were in this situation in the first place, that none of this would be necessary. At least at this point, as you feel right now, right? No, it wouldn't. So, if you're gonna say something different, then.
Oh well, I was gonna give
I like that.
I was gonna say this the stereotypical scenario of like abortion, and then like, oh, she was raped. Like, is it okay now? That's probably like the most used like gray area situation. But I also use a metaphor to explain my position. I look at morality. I don't know if I want to use morality. I'll say goodness. Objective goodness is blatantly black and white. There is no gray area. The metaphor comes in where it's like, oh, it seems like a gray area, but you really have to zoom in. You can see that it's just black and white sticking to each other. Yeah. See, when you're far away back here, it looks gray. When you zoom in and look at the scenario, each little piece by piece, it's black and white. What was the person's intention? What's going on here? What's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? And that takes individual work on their own because other people can't see your thoughts and intentions. Which is why the objective morality for the society would have to work from inside out, not the other direction. See, if the bank robber, or what do you say, the guy stealing like food or something?
Think of Batman Begins.
Alright, the guy or the kid stealing fruit,
Or food.
They know the entire moral situation going on. Us from the outside are like, man, that's a tough spot. Like, is he really a bad person? He just needs to feed himself.
In the moment,
but we know stealing's wrong too. It's like, what do we do here? That individual knows all the details. Their ego doesn't know, but their whole self knows the entire scenario going on. They can probably feel it too. Like, fucking up now. But I gotta eat. And the ego's in the gray area. Right?
Then there's
if they did the work, they'd see the details.
Then there's an even somewhat deeper scenario to the point where it's, they steal the food, right? They put it down. And the guy that's just like him sees them. Oh, he has food now. I'll steal it from him now. Wait, he needs the food too. No, hush.
Yeah.
So it's ongoing.
Yeah.
Shit, do I capture these kids or do I just let them go? Fuck.
Man.
I'm losing money here. I want that TV.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. MLK.
It's like laws are.
You didn't say it like
so
he would.
even for it to become an accepted theory, something like Stefan's UPV, it still could theoretically have exceptions.
So I think one thing that we have to look at here is, so what's your methodology in terms of dispute resolution, justice, and things of that nature? And I think it's really important to understand that, okay, yes, we must look at these situations where, yes, perhaps there is an objective answer, but our subjective perception of what is true is flawed and leads us astray in our pursuit of said objective truth. And
I'll go back to the picture.
Believe it or not, those are actually gang songs.
This is where I would say that I would almost put these things in the opposite direction. As in, the thing we consider objective is actually subjective.
Calm down. I'm just trying it out.
And the things we learn through subjectivity,
right,
is actually the objective reality, the objective truth. Right?
Yeah.
We can all say that, oh, that's a tree. But we're all seeing it completely different from one another. Even if it's by the tiniest amount of difference, we're still seeing it differently. Thus, it becomes a subjective experience. Now, the truth, the objective reality comes in when you say, I consider that a tree. I create a terminology and an observation within, say, that's a tree. I'm defining that as a tree. That's where the objective reality is. And which is why I say the morals, once again, you can't have a society with objective moral law that's not based on books or writing down laws and shit and being inputted into a person. It'll be understood here and expressed out here. So, yeah. You got anything? Or?
Just want to let you know the tree is mine.
Ray in our pursuit of said objective truth. And I think that's where we need dispute resolution fundamentally the most, is in the area of those peripheries where things are blurred. But that is not to say that the absolutes aren't objectively absolute. And that's the problem. The same thing applies to science. And I don't think anyone's had a sufficient rebuttal to this theory of ethics. And I think
the problem with saying I don't think anyone's had a sufficient to this system of ethics is that
to Molyneux's system of ethiks?
Yeah, I would hope.
That could be broken down pretty easily because of his presupposition of you only understand things through your senses.
It's ridiculous, dude.
It's like I had to exist first in order to experience senses, in order to experience the world. You know,
the meaning of sufficient is such a subjective way to like view, because you may not
That's
think
why
it's sufficient.
I said
exactly. I know. That's what I'm saying. The problem with that. I'm not saying you were claiming something that's not true.
Right.
I was saying that there's a problem with saying I don't think that, because it's really dependent on, you really like this UPB, and I think it's really interesting. The problem is, I bet you there are going to be a lot more rebuttals, especially as it becomes more mainstream, especially as Stefan takes it a little further. Do you know when the book came out?
I don't know, but I'll look that up.
Sure. No, but that is true. I've noticed that, the clear difference between theory and law is pretty much certainty. That's all I can really think of. There's really not much that separates theory and law besides 100% certainty. Besides one being just completely undeniably 100% true. In fact, it being untrue is impossible.
Yeah.
The problem is, I don't think we can get to that point anytime soon with morality.
I might.
I disagree with that.
See, the way of morality that I believe we're both talking about doesn't require time, really. It's not really a time thing.
In 7 years, do hard studies, and you'll reach the level of basic morality. It's like, no.
We might even say it's already here. It's already there. This place has dirt and shit covering it, has muck on it.
Yeah.
You gotta fucking
I can't remember
clear
who
that
said
shit
this,
up.
but it's like we're basically remembering. We forgot.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. But at the same time, it's like, do you think the world's gonna just stop? Like, okay, everybody stop. Let's figure this shit out.
Stop! Everyone stops their cars. Oh, the guy on the mountain's like, everybody.
Everyone who has not done this work, you'll have these nice, comfortable homes. You'll be isolated. You'll be on your own, and you figure this shit out.
Actually, they do.
Then you come back.
They do.
Yeah, they do, but they have too much content flying around to where it's like.
Oh, it's
And
relative.
then when they run out of content, they go find more.
It's relative to who.
Well, once again, like I said, if you did the work, it's like, we're not worried about you. See these guys over here.
It's too difficult to comprehend. We do not know enough about the human brain. We just do not know enough. I think the best we could ever accomplish.
That's not true at all. What you have is yourself. If you know yourself, then you can do it. You can figure this out, and it'll be in your language. So you don't have to go to Harvard. You don't need to be a linguist. You don't need to understand everyone else's words. You need to understand yourself.
Train tracks.
Even if you don't even speak English or speak a language, you're mute or whatever, you're deaf, you're blind, you're all of them. You have you still in your own language. Right. That's where the objective morality is. And if every individual does it, that's how it becomes secular objective. Fucking put this shit on.
I can't let you go like that, man. Paul.
You're gonna be the guy who, like, the first man to ever read minds. You're gonna use it to do that shit.
Feel like
He's a scientific marvel. We studied him year round.
seriously, it's just
This kid's got it.
It's so silly.
It's like, yo, pause, man. I can hear you. Yo, I see you, Jerry. Why are you looking away for me? I knew it was you. I'm psychic, remember?
I don't know what you're talking about.
He's in my head. Pause, man.
There's a pause. Help me! the guy's like with like the, I don't know, it says no freak on their shirt. Yeah. Taking away this guy in white. Like They'll never see anything sus ever again.
Alright.
Even in our lifetimes, would be morality, of being
Sorry,
a sort of theory, right? I don't think we can ever get to the point with law.
Where perfect morality is law, where you can
Right.
emulate morality within a law system.
Nah, that'll never happen.
What?
Where the objective morality is written in law, as in we're following this law written out. Like, nah, because then it wouldn't be morality. It wouldn't be objective.
It's your morals being projected onto something physical, which is a little
It wouldn't be objective.
odd,
Yeah. It wouldn't be objective, and also it might not even be moral if they're just following words someone else wrote down.
Are you following because is it written down? Like, are you not raping her because it's wrong, or because they told you couldn't do it? It's like, gosh, guy's like, oh damn, I never thought about it. And he looks at Mary. Mary's like, what are you looking at me like that for? He's like,
That might be a lot of people. But at the same time, yeah.
He's like, are those bolt locks? Yeah, man. But those windows locked from the outside. Ah!
Yeah.
But it's like, I wouldn't doubt it. A lot of people.
I don't think they'll.
Well, a lot of
They
people.
might just be to the point where they're at that conditioned level of you don't do it because it's wrong.
Yeah.
Without even understanding.
Just do the Reese.
Alright.
I was watching fucking clips of that. I was like, I'm reliving it all.
No, we don't mean by scientific law. Difference between scientific theory and scientific law.
So, okay, no. I see what you mean. You don't mean like.
No, not law like government. No, I wouldn't want to. Oh my God, no.
Yeah.
No. So look, here's an example. Scientific law is a statement based on repeated experimental observations that describes some aspects of the universe. A scientific law always applies under the same conditions and implies that there is a causal relationship involving its elements. Now let's do scientific theory.
I don't know if you can call that a law because it's going to change. Not that it's going to change, but that it's subject to change. What?
My sunshine. I heard it.
Oh, sorry.
It's now whenever it plays, you just hear it.
Yeah. Alright.
So wait, okay.
All right. Theory is a well-substantiated explanation of some aspects of the natural world that is acquired through the scientific method and repeatedly tested and confirmed through observation and experimentation. Scientific theories are the most reliable, rigorous, and comprehensive form of scientific knowledge.
Okay, no, this is actually a great. This is. I have a little part of his book right here when he talks about these gray areas. He said, and this is quoting him. The fact that certain, quote, gray areas exist in the realm of ethics has often been used as a justification for rank relativism. Since on occasion some things remain unclear, who initiated the use of violence, for example, and since it is impossible to define objective and exact rules for every conceivable situation, the conclusion is often drawn that nothing can ever be known for certain and that no objective rules exist for any situation.
No. Yeah, it's possible to define objective. Just we won't be able to share it and see it.
I can't tell you. Jeremy, show me. Just write it down. I can't. You won't get it. Well, again, it's like the same thing. I'll write my morals down there. We'll follow them. It's like, but they wouldn't get it. They wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
This is false. All reasonable people recognize that biology is a valid science, despite the fact that some animals are often born with one-off mutations. The fact that a dog can be born with 5 legs does not mean that the canine becomes a completely subjective category. That's a really good point. The fact that this is what I was looking for, the examples. The fact that certain species of insects are challenging to differentiate does not mean that there is no difference between beetle and a whale.
Yeah. Then you, hopefully he defined reasonable people. Like, it's hard to just throw that in there. All reasonable people believe this thing. It's like, well, what do you mean by reasonable people?
What do you mean? Reasonable.
You can't just say, oh, they use reason, which is the atheist talking line.
The atheist.
That's their counterpart to.
It reminds me of this. It's like
to metaphysical ideas.
It's like
or spiritual
like
ideas.
if I had homework, and they would say, define this word. I define it. Then use it. Use it in a sentence. And I would say something like, I'm using blah, blah in a sentence. And I did that.
I hope you failed that.
I did. I basically had Lois as my teacher. My English teacher and history teacher.
Who? What?
Lois.
Lois?
I think that's her name, right?
Oh, the character?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought you were dry snitching again.
No. No.
Yeah.
I didn't dry snitch. If anything, you're dry snitching. If you're claiming someone's dry snitching.
Oh, with my idea, it's not that the categorization of observations become subjective. It's that they already are. It's all subjective in the first place. It's my, right? I'm the subjective thing sitting in here, that hidden observer, observing the outside world. And I'm the one making a distinction that this is a dog and this is a cat, or whatever. Even if it's conditioned or whatever, I'm choosing to agree with the conditioning on some level, subconsciously probably. Yeah. So yeah, that doesn't make a case for objective reality externally. Thus, you can make an objective morality externally. You still got work to do in the foundation part.
It's like these odd comparisons people make. See, I can do this because we can clearly make the distinction between this thing and this thing right over here. You know, like a whale or a beetle, and it's like, okay, it's completely different. You know, it's not as ridiculous as see, Shaq is too tall to sit in this. It's like, you know what I mean?
In that work, you see what you're turning.
I don't mean to. I'm not trying to turn anything. I'm just saying.
Not you. What this is turning science or whatever into is it turns into a thought experiment rather than reality itself. It's like you can clearly see a beetle's view and a whale's view. Like, no. But what's the thing observing the thing? What is the thing out here, right? You can't really say because you're in subjective experience and you're using tools you made through your subjective experience to measure these things that are part of your subjective experience. And I'm like, where's the objectivity at? Oh, the objectivity comes when you arbitrarily decide that this is this and this is that. That's being creative. Oh, I created something. I'm creating a reality. That's how the reality I create is objective to me because I understand the full reality because I've made it. Right? Favorite color, blue? Huh?
That's mine.
Right? Your favorite color is blue.
You can use it though.
Yeah. If your favorite color is blue, that becomes an objective fact not be changed, whatever.
Yeah.
That is your thing. You created
It
it.
is.
It's in your reality.
Yeah.
Thus, you understand that reality objectively.
Mm-hmm.
But the external reality is not your reality.
No. But it's mine.
I'm using the word reality too much. I hope that made sense.
It's like no one stopped that guy like when he's 2. Mine. Parents like, fuck it, man. He'll do whatever the fuck he wants anyway. Falls over. I was like, oh well, mine. Oh yeah, you can have the sword. Yes, it's mine. Goes outside, grips the ground for the first time. Mine. And now it started.
Alright.
Beetle and a whale. So yeah, exactly. Using the peripheries as a justification for a lack of objectivity, I think fundamentally, I think fundamentally a lot of these people, and you can correct, you can disagree with me here. I don't know if you do. You might agree with me. Is that they aren't coming at this from an intellectual perspective, that they just simply disagree with this idea, more broadly of objective ethics. I think it's that they know that if there is an objective morality, that they are morally culpable for perhaps doing things that weren't so morally preferable, you could say.
Maybe like people with like abortion and shit, they'd be like, fuck, I can't.
I'll be honest, I just thought about something else. I even hear him.
He's saying people that disagree with that, like that bottom paragraph, probably disagree because they have like, ulterior motives.
Not at all.
Like they don't want to be morally responsible for their actions.
It's not true.
Thus, they have to think of things as not being. They have to think of morality as not being objective.
And then you said.
And then I said, I might agree with that. Like you can look at something like abortion. It's like someone who's obviously like someone who wasn't raped or anything shitty. They just had sex with a guy. And then they got pregnant and they're like, shit, I'm not ready for this. I want to get rid of the baby. And it's like, oh, you might have to morally like dig into that situation if there were an objective ethics.
And then another thing is this:
it's like,
let me get confirmation from all these people around me. Oh, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. That's right, I don't. That means I don't have to. That means I shouldn't. It gets weird.
Yeah, they're looking for answers.
Everyone's patting on
anyway.
me in the back like, we can't financially afford it. Kill it.
Looking for answers.
Then
whatever.
it's well, is it actually alive? Is it actually a person? Yeah, then that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, see, it's okay. See, guys?
So
It's like, yeah, you just have it, and then.
Yeah, I might agree with some of what they're saying there. Let's hear more.
In the past, and I think a lot of these people want there to be a relativism so that they can escape responsibility.
You don't want your certain actions to be completely condemned.
Right.
And on top of that, it's a massive burden to have to know that a certain action is objectively wrong. Now, I want to correct what I said earlier. Here's the difference. Okay, sorry, I just want to make sure everyone knows. So, and this is where I think it really applies well. So,
I just want to add, because what they just said made me think. It's like they also might be in fear of, external forces, namely like the law, cops and lawyers and all that shit.
Lawyers are just waiting, like, go ahead, do it.
Yeah, so
I need a new beach house.
So they want sort of moral gray areas so that when they're in court, they might have some way to get out of the situation. Yeah, maybe I won't go to jail for this.
It's like lawyers are Jedis.
Yeah.
It wasn't wrong that he raped this girl. She basically asked for it. Amy, why are you really wearing those booty shorts? Why did you really go to the gym 3 days a week? How come your workouts mainly consisted of glute ham raise, deadlifts, squats. Judge, evidence, sumo deadlifts. It's like, oh god. Jury's like, well, court adjourned.
But yeah,
Kidding, but yeah, you know, it's like wiggle room. Like, I got him now. We can use this to get out of this. Yeah,
that's probably a killer of objective morality too, as far as on a social level, is punishment.
what's it called? It's called a cop out, kind of. Yeah.
Revenge in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like you get you basically get no rewards for doing good for the most part.
Yeah.
You get like no rewards for it, but you do get punishment when you fuck up. So you end up choosing to
It's like
not get in trouble as
Yeah.
opposed to actually do good.
It's like the dad with tough love. It's like doesn't congratulate his son for anything. You know. It's like his little sister. Like, hello, Amy. Go to bed. Tells his son to say his name. He's like, what a beautiful drawing. Looks at his son. Clean up when you're done.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to tell you. You don't need that.
In general, a scientific law is a description of an observed phenomenon. So it's describing an observed phenomenon. It does not explain why the phenomenon exists or what caused it. The explanation of a phenomenon is called a scientific theory. Okay.
So yeah. No, okay, so what are we
Yeah,
going
it is a misconception that a theory then becomes a law. The problem is that the reason that sort of idea of a law in theory is because law is something that is observed. It's an observed phenomenon, not an explanation of it. The problem with explanations are they're so difficult to prove, and they're, I would argue, less difficult to prove than observing something that naturally exists. Looking for the roots of it or the causes is much different than the actual phenomenon itself. So that's why I think morality actually, I think it could be a scientific law. You could find a way to do that.
Right. So what would be the standard of disproof?
What do you mean?
So that's one of the fundamental things when you're examining an idea is to look, how can this idea be disproven? Because if it has no way of being disproven rationally, then it's not truly an idea. It's just a demagoguery talking point.
Right. You mean do you mean the method of proving, or
the method of disproving? Meaning, like, how could this possibly be disproven? Right. If you're saying that there's a possibility of it being proven, well, if it doesn't meet up with that, it also must be disproven by the opposite of that.
The way to disprove it probably would be if you're not able to prove it. Right. The burden of proof is on the people presenting this new system of ethics.
No, that is.
I think he missed his point a bit. As in, if you have a proof of something, then you should be able to, I think in his theory, you recreate the scenario and disprove it. Like, you should be able to attempt to disprove it. Right? If you have a structure of a proof, you should be able to, if you have a formula, you should be able to plug in whatever numbers, and it should still come out as the proof. Or disprove it. But there should be some sort of formula, some sort of structure in order to disprove it or prove it. And that's what he's trying to say. I don't know if I explained that right.
Yeah. There you go, yeah. Well, again, it's...
You need some sort of way to prove and disprove it. Right? You need something structured there. I think is what
at least until, like, you know, when there's an ultimate understanding of what is.
Yeah.
Like, this is the truth. It's unquestionable, you know.
Yeah, certain things.
I'm not saying you can't question it, you know, but if you're at that point where you know, then you don't have to. You couldn't.
Well, that idea...
Yeah, you wouldn't have to, because it would be just dumb.
That idea that he was just saying, doesn't it... I don't think it applies to the scope of reality. I think it just applies to thought experiments and, you know, maybe scientific hypotheses. Whatever.
It's true, but I would say we would have to come up with a way in which we could test whether it's true. It seems to be rationally true on the surface, right? And I don't know how exactly you would go about, quote, testing it, right? Because this is an abstraction fundamentally, right? And
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to test it. At least not the objective morality we're talking about.
Jordan jump.
Yeah, you can't prove my favorite color. You can't prove objective morality, as far as everyone fully understanding that. And,
And as long as usually when abstractions are rationally consistent, that is the proof for them. So I would have to look into that to see more fundamentally what, would prove it as a law quote. You know what I mean? For the distinctions between law and theory in the realm of
It's like how in the realm
of abstraction. Is that different than something that you can verify empirically?
Here, so laws are descriptions, often mathematical descriptions, and this is why people generally believe in.
The trees, they did it. You have to cut them all down.
empiricism, all our knowledge comes through this is a small news thing.
Mm-hmm.
All our knowledge comes through the use of the five senses. A belief is a basic empirical belief if and only if it is a direct result of sensation. Now, well, okay. And you can say yes or no. It's his words and how he uses them, but a basic empirical belief. No. Well, you can have a basic empirical truth without sensation. 'Cause I just think he looks at it wrong, that you need the senses. I think what you need is content.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even know if your senses are a real thing. Right? If you're in a dream, are you really throwing head kicks and shit?
Yeah. Is that really is that steak real you're eating?
Yeah.
I don't care.
So it's less about the senses, more about content. And the only way to have content is to have conflict, as you need the separation. You need to know the difference between a TV and a table to say that that's a table and that's a TV. And you need... There's more details in there, but essentially you need to exist. You need to exist first in order to experience the conflict, in order to experience the content, in order to come up with knowledge.
It would be easy to start from there as far as like, oh, I'm here.
Yeah.
Like, there you go.
And I always look at it as something inside out. Right?
Yeah.
You exist and you have all the, I don't know what you want to call them, the attachments. All the attachments to external things are already there. Like, I like this or I hate this. Those things are already here. And then they attach to something. Some form of content. And then it reflects back. It's very complicated. Trust me, I'm smart. I got an A. I'm very smart.
Oh, I went to school for it. I got an A. I'm like, dude, go choke him out.
Yeah.
Go choke his ass out. Do it. Ankle pick him.
Oh, I know what I was thinking of as I was saying that. This has nothing really to do with this. Maybe with morality.
You mean the whack ass silhouette pictures? Yeah. People have like in their room. Like, who the fuck is that?
I was gonna say something about likes and dislikes before content exists. Your likes and dislikes are already there.
It's also mad messed up.
What?
It's like you got pictures of silhouettes in your house. It's like, why have silhouettes? Like, dude, that's my mom.
Yeah.
She don't see her pupils or anything. She's mega dark.
I was gonna say something about content in regards to likes and dislikes. This is all woo-woo metaphysical shit. But it's like they'll probably ask the question: how can you have the favorite color blue before blue is there, before you actually see blue, right? I would say the likes and dislikes are already there. And you can prove this to yourself by looking at what you don't like.
Yeah.
I think Tessarian takes that route too. Well, what you like and what you dislike simultaneously. As in, if I lined you up with a bunch of colors, all lined up for you, you get to see all the colors. You can pick through each one, say, no, this is like I like this, I like this, I like this, I like this. By the time you get through all the colors, you're like, oh, that's my favorite. Or you can immediately throw everything out, like, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. I like this. I don't like this. I don't like this.
And then someone throws out there argues like, then we get to the one. It's like, well, what if you're in the Matrix? This thing never existed. It's like, but I liked it, and it existed through me.
Yeah. Well, you just say I existed.
Well, yeah. Well, you're experiencing it.
So that would be my little explanation of how the senses aren't truly the dictators of certain things.
No, they help. They can help.
Yeah, and it's not just limited. My little theory is not just limited to likes and dislikes.
When we look through like something limited as far as like a singular like lens, then it can be tough. Like well, if it's not this, then what could it be? What are you insane? It's yeah, dude, you're here on one plane,
Yeah.
one part of the spectrum. That's all you're seeing. How could you see anything else?
Yeah. And
I can't fly. Are you insane? Like, I'm telling you, if you jump off that building over there, you'll fly. Really? No. What? Fuck. Wait a minute. Bill? Is that your wife down there with another man? Where? Pushes in. He didn't fly. I'm like, yeah. I said you.
Yeah. All right.
I so probably believe this, that laws are probably more concrete than theories for that reason, is that it's much, math was around before, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what types, but math is
It's fun. It's like off topic. It's like all the Met fans that would possibly decide to watch this. Not that there would be, but they're like, David Wright's last game, I'm not watching this shit. People could be getting shot in the streets. It's like, I'll be right down. Turns the volume up.
Yeah, he's a big deal in New York. In Queens. Yeah.
Oh. No, he's big deal.
In Met circle.
I respect.
Yeah, like, alright.
much harder to change than physics is.
He's like,
or than science in general, right? Math is a tool. It's a way to measure. It's very difficult to assert something that can then be later proven wrong in math. It's very difficult, right? Science, however, is a little different, and that's why laws are usually mathematical, right? Like I have it here, Mendel's law of independent assortment, or the most famous Newton's laws of physics, right? I can't imagine Newton's laws of physics are ever proven wrong.
Well, let me sort of explain what I mean by the difference between something like Newton's laws of physics
versus evolution.
Or even evolution.
And evolution is, sorry, I just want to make this very clear so that we can actually go further with this, because I think this is a really big thing, the idea of scientific morality. So, just so I can clear it up before, this is the fundamental difference. This is what we have to get. A law is observing a natural phenomenon. A theory is an explanation for that natural phenomenon. It's an explanation, not the observation.
Well,
that's the key. No, but here's the reason.
No, I know what you're saying.
So what would morality fit under?
Well, this is what I'm trying to get to. What I'm asking is, the problem is fundamentally, and the fundamental difference between something like the laws of physics and something like other things that science explores generally. The fundamental difference is that that's something that can be, like you said, observed and verified empirically, whereas something that is purely in the realm of abstractions can't be empirically
Right.
it can't be empirically verified, but only rationally verified. Because
okay. And they're finding rationality. Yeah, I would just say it can be internally observed and it's used, so you have all the evidence. But it can't be, you know, socially verified or collectively verified.
it is an abstraction. So what I'm saying is, the only way to prove or disprove would be purely in the realm of abstraction.
Yeah, it's really difficult to see how that could change, considering we don't know enough about consciousness and other things.
I just want to add something. I don't know if I agree with the term abstraction. I think it would seem abstract because of the content and the language it's spoken in, at least on individual levels. If it would be a person's individual expression of things, so it's their content. So when they're describing something they feel is a moral law, or even something they objectively know is a moral truth, it would be spoken in their language. Thus, it would seem like abstraction, but it's actually the same thing that the next person's talking about, who also has objective moral truth. Their content just might be a little different, right? We all experience, I won't say we all, but I would say there's a good chance that most people experience happiness. But if you could see inside their brain, not their brain, see inside their mind, see inside the person, and see how happiness looks here and happiness looks there, or how sadness looks here and how sadness looks there, it'll look abstract. That's really just the content, but the fundamental core foundation of the thing is happiness or sadness, which is something we share. Thus, objective morality or objective goodness isn't really the abstract thing, it's the content surrounding it. That's what I would say.
It would be very, 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 very difficult to empirically prove that. And that's why I wanted to say that I don't think it could be a law for that specific reason. It's very hard to quantify this, right?
Well, I don't know, but I don't see. But then, if there's no standard by which it could become a law, then is that a useful categorization to put it in a theory category?
Well, no. The problem is that theory is an explanation, right?
Right, but what I'm saying is, it's not like it's explaining a natural phenomenon. It's not explaining a natural phenomenon. It's coming up with sort of a nutritional guide for an art.
Right.
So it's fundamentally in a different category than almost anything I can think of. And
Yeah.
that's why it's hard to put it in this box of being a law or a theory.
Do you think it could ever be examined using science, or do you think
but
never?
What do you mean?
Can this morality or whatever, objective morality, be observed using science? Yes. But on an individual level, each person on their own can do that. They can use the full scientific theory on themselves with their own content. And obviously it won't be subjective to them, right? If one is looking into themselves, it becomes objective because I know the ins and outs of myself. I'll know if I'm lying, I'll know if I'm being honest, and then those things lead to, I know the truth, I know this is wrong, whatever.
Bathroom, I swear.
Fuck. What? They called you gay boys.
Me?
Yeah, I can't rewind either, the button's broken.
It's alright.
They're like, yo, fuck that guy.
Alright.
They're psychics, they knew I'd be reacting to the video. They knew you'd get up and leave at this exact moment of time. And then they said, yo, fuck that guy. I'm just saying, man. Alright.
When you gotta shit, you gotta shit.
Using science, do you mean empirically? Because there's
Yes.
nothing tangible to measure.
I'm saying, do you ever think that could be tangible?
No, because there's nothing tangible to measure.
Do you feel that scary though?
Like I said, you can measure yourself. You know the ins and outs. You know it's a lie. You know it's... Even when you're self-deception, you can see that. Granted, all that shit takes work to actually do, I would think. I'm sure there's people that naturally do that. Like, dude, why are you lying to yourself? Like, in their own mind. But at the same time, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, I'm the best. I'm the best.
I guarantee
Turner
you, though.
Francis, I'm in charge. I'm in charge.
But they already know. They're giving you an explanation as far as that character. You know, it's like, see, he already knows.
Yeah.
But he's convincing himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why when he goes home,
Pride, things like that.
that's why when he goes home, he'll tell the mom, "Oh, I'm still unemployed. We have some like really good job."
Yeah.
Just to make you unhappy. I'm still the rebel. I'm still the rebel. No.
So yeah, in that realm, it's not so subjective anymore.
No, I don't, because I think a lot of things are purely abstractions that will never leave the Platonic realm, right? I don't think that, I think some things are just stuck in that realm and can't be pulled out of it because, by definition, they are the ideal. They can't be pulled out of it. They can't be dragged down into reality and measured
It's like
empirically.
an asymptotic one.
Alright, that I would agree with. You can't share it with others yet. I don't think you can share it that way. It'd be more of an unspoken thing, like I said before.
I just thought it'd be intuitive.
Yeah, an unspoken.
Yeah. Yo, he's in
Right,
his
and so I don't think it's scary because I think that we don't, I think fundamentally for this, we don't need to measure it because there's nothing to measure. Is it consistent rationally? And that's the proof right there. And so I guess it's not a law in the sense that you can empirically measure it, but it's also not a theory in the sense that it's just, an explanation for something that you naturally perceive. So I don't think it fits really in either. Before you go, make sure to subscribe to our channel.
Yeah, do everything he says right there for his channel, for their channel.
Sure to like this video, and please click the bell to get our notifications in order to fight the YouTube censorship. Please make sure, if you are a long-time listener, or even if you're not, to go on to ceccpointnews.com/donate to reciprocate the value back to us that we are providing to you. And please, if you cannot do that, then go over to ceccpointmerch.com, and then you can find our wide selection of merchandise items for you to purchase so that you get something directly other than, of course, the great value that we're providing you through these mediums. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Minds, Gab, Steemit, Facebook, Instagram, and a variety of other social media platforms that we have listed below. It helps to go on to ceccpointnews.com/donate to reciprocate the value back to us that we are providing to you. And please, if you cannot do that, then go over to ceccpointmerch.com, and then you can find our wide selection of merchandise items for you to purchase so that you get something directly other than, of course, the great value that we're providing you through these mediums. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Minds, Gab, Steemit, Facebook, Instagram, and a variety of other social media platforms that we have listed below. It helps us out immensely, and it makes it easier for us to reach you, the listener. Thank you so much for watching.
It's like he knows that we're family.
Oh, the eyebrow family. Caveman bro.
It's not that distinct, okay?
Even though no one's probably going to watch this, please donate to ceccpointnews.com/donate. Give your money away. Because we don't have any type of financial thingy going on.
Just tell them where you live.
That's your job. By accident.
No, it isn't.
That's what a dry snitch does.
You're a hypocrite.
How so?
You don't realize what you just did?
No, I'm snitching, not dry snitching. See, I have motive and intentions going on here. You don't even realize you're.
This means you're a punk.
You don't even realize you're fucking up.
Means you're a punk, man. You live in a glass house, bro. You got a glass straw too.
Anyways, after you subscribe, follow, and donate to Ceccpoint News, subscribe to us. Also comment, and also thumbs up.